Hey, and welcome guys. Today we're going to be building the Buck Rogers Starfighter. Now this is a resin kit. I do have the Monogram kit. I'm going to do this one first. I did a review not too long ago of the two kits, and I've decided to build this one first. That way I can kind of get practice on the painting and stuff. I can't light this one, or at least, this is pretty much one solid block of resin, and you'd have to kind of cut it all apart to install lights and stuff. So this one's going to build and paint. They'll give me some practice. Plus, on the Monogram one, there's some issues with how I'm going to do the cockpit. I bought another palette kind of just like this. In this kit, he sits more upright. The Monogram kit has him actually kind of lean back. It just doesn't look right. So I don't want to go forward to figure out how to do that cockpit on the Monogram kit. So I'm going to build this one up. As you can see, it's not a lot of parts. We just need to clean it up. Wash it with some soap and water. It does have like a film on it. I can feel it. We'll have to clean up some of these parts. Here are the front end guns. You can tell, trim away a section of that. The cockpit, we're going to have to cut away the excess right here so we'll be able to see in. And there was another thing. This is a difference between the Monogram one. The canopy here, I'm sorry, this is the canopy. The canopy is attached to the upper part. So still trying to figure out how I'm going to do all those details. I wish it would have been more like this. That would make it a little easier. Wings are one part. Looks like there's going to be a little bit of cleanup on that. Typical resin kit. Otherwise pretty good. Some of the details are kind of soft. So I may have to look into trying to do something with that. But it should be a pretty quick build, hopefully. And anyway, let's just get started. Okay, I've got some of it assembled. There's a lot of cleanup. There was kind of a gritty feeling on it after I washed it and stuff, so I've been sanding it. I've connected the lower wings here and the front pylons. Try to get these as straight as I can. These are kind of difficult. They're going to have to do to kind of go in a little bit. It's kind of hard to sand those and get those matched up. I have a few little holes here and there from the molds that I've filled in with just like some super glue and then sanded over. So just a lot of cleanup. I've drilled a hole out for our stand here, and you can see where I've already put some primer on there and have cleaning that up too. So I'm just ready. I'm going to put on another coat of primer over the whole part. I'm probably going to leave the engines off and paint those separately and then attach those. Again, these are a little bit tricky. There's material here that I used my Dremel to remove the excess. It's a little tricky to get in there the way it's inside these wings right here. And I had to sand some excess off of the engines here. And I'm also working on cutting out the cockpit. Not too hard. It's fairly thin part that you have to cut out. So my X-Acto knife's doing most of it. And then cleaning it up with files and sanding strips. So that's where I'm at, and I'm just ready to put some primer on it. Alright, as you can see, I've done quite a bit of the painting. I did a primer, and I just used some Rust-Oleum rattle can primer. Tried Vallejo primer at first with my airbrush, and it just wasn't staying on very well. I didn't like the way it was being applied. So I took all that off and did just the rattle can primer, automotive primer, which worked a lot better. It adhered to the resin much better. And I just gave it time. Plus, it's a little thicker coat, and it helped when I went to sand it smooth. It helped smoothen out a lot of it. Again, this garage kit's a little rough, but it's coming together. I painted the base color with Vallejo Mecha Color white gray. Comes out very white. I think the studio model had more of a kind of a light beigeish color to it. On screen, it looks more white. I typically like to go with what's I see on screen. So I'm pretty happy with the color. I did some accents, researched a lot of pictures. The gray striping is kind of individual preference. I don't know if that really shows on the screen too much, but a lot of modelers add in different things. I went here because the sanding and the very light raised detail wasn't showing through, so I wanted to give the wing a little bit more detail, and so I kind of came up with that pattern loosely following some panel lines that I could see. So just a light gray of that, a few accents on the bottom. I think I still need to add some to the very bottom of the ship. I went with a dark gray on the cockpit with a little dry brushing with some steel color to bring out some detail. I had my engines mostly painted up. I did a dark gray base color, did some black accent around the end of the I guess the muzzle of the engine, the very end there, and a little bit around these openings right here, or vents, or whatever these are. And then I did a little bit of dry brushing to help bring out. The engines have a lot of really nice details, so I wanted to bring that out a little bit. So, got my canopy all opened up and painted. I still have to trim a little bit off this bottom to get it to fit right. It's not really fitting in there just right yet. But overall, I think it's coming together. So from this point, I'm going to apply the decals next. Put a clear coat on the decals once I get those applied, and we'll start doing the weathering. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and finish it up from here. It's just basic weathering decal application, and so when I come back, we'll take a look at the finished chip. All right, well, here's our finished Buck Rogers Starfighter, our resin garage kit. I finished up, put on the decals. They went on pretty good. I did have a little bit of issue. Well, they went on pretty well. They were very brittle, and I had a piece of it come off right here as I was putting it on, and then unfortunately I tried to correct it, and it just started getting worse. I had to kind of leave that like it is. I may be able to come in and paint this stripe on. I don't know. I'm probably not going to worry about it too much. So they are a little bit fragile once you get them on there. So I put those on. I did a little bit of weathering. I put our pilot in here. He sits at a really awkward position, and it's going to be the same case on when I go to build the plastic Monogram kit that I have of this. This resin kit's based off that, so the cockpit and all is the same type pilot, and it just doesn't look right. So when I get to the plastic one, obviously I'm going to try to modify all that. I saw one video where they actually replaced it with a different scale of pilot. It was actually a pilot and a co-pilot that sat beside each other. Looked really good. So I may do something like that, but that build's not going to be anytime soon. Overall, this looks pretty good. Like I said, it's a garage kit. It has lots of issues. It's lost a lot of its detail. Obviously, it was made off the Monogram kit. But when you paint it up, it's a pretty nice representation of it. It's a little difficult getting some of the parts on straight just because of the way the resin's made and how you have to sand it and different things. But, again, if you're looking for these have gotten the Monogram kits have gotten very expensive. So this is kind of an option if you want one. I know they make another resin. I've seen another resin kit. I forgot the manufacturer, but I believe it's a much larger scale with a lot more detail. So just kind of depends on what you're willing to spend. It's probably the cheapest thing you can get, or cheapest you can spend to get something like this. But that's how I finished up. I put a matte coat on it to kind of seal everything together. Again, with a little bit of weathering, just try pastels mostly. Well, that's the build for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. And until next time, everybody have a good one.